when Lorely gets nerfed. I think from a Trials of Osiris perspective, in terms of the Crucible one-shot builds and all that, and if you're still looking for your teammates to get that 20% buff and you want to get that 20% buff, even if you're a Titan still, you want to have your teammate to run the Boots of the Assembler. Trust me, it's crazy how powerful it is. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about these exotics side by side. We're gonna write everything down. We have Trials right here. Boom. We're gonna have a Warlock over here. Boom. Boots of Assembler over here. As you guys can see, for heals, at the moment, we don't know what the nerf is going to be. I would think it's going to be pretty strong because the Solar 3.0 is coming up. So they're probably looking at it. They're like, oh, shit, we got to tone this down a lot. I don't know what they're going to do with it. At the moment, though, I don't think that the heals are anything crazy. I don't think they're game-breaking. I don't think they're like, for example, they're like Devour on the Warlock, where your HP goes from 1 to 100, like, boom, instantly. That would be insane. That would literally be insane. But it still can win you some encounters for sure. Something people don't do a lot and then they complain about it, about this exotic. I've heard a lot of people, you know, like, oh, you know, it's good, but it's now that you get critically damaged, it uses up your barricade energy, so it's not that good. Well, if you're running max resilience, you're getting that barricade back every 14 seconds as long as you're running double utility kickstart. So I don't think that's a huge problem with the exotic at all. If anything, the thing is, every exotic that is as powerful as this one should have a payoff. I don't have a problem with that at all. Sometimes you get critically wounded, it takes away your barricade, it drops the sunspot, whatever. It's fine. Damage buff, as you guys can see, is the same on both of them. It's a 20% damage buff. The duration of the damage buff on both of these exotics is the same. They give out 5-second damage buffs. Unless, obviously, you're going to combine Boots of the Assembler with Lumina, then you can give out 10-second damage buffs, but that's different. We're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be comparing that combination. Granted, this one can provide it much easier when it comes to teams. Much, much easier, because they don't have to be pretty much next to you or anything, or in the rift. Ability regen solely for this exotic in terms of the Sun Warrior combination with Lorely is going to be better, because every time you drop that barrier, you're going to have a sunspot and your abilities are going to charge up. That said, there's a few ways you can kind of get your abilities back, but in that case, you won't be able to run the Empowering Rift. You're going to have to run the Healing Rift with the Child of the Old Gods, which in my humble opinion is a very, very good ability and can catch a lot of people off guard, because when you're in a 1v1 situation or in a 1v2, let's say if you get tagged by it, you don't really have time to shoot that orb. You got to keep fighting that person, and at the same time you're taking extra damage and you're weakened. If you are taking that damage, you're giving your enemies grenade and melee energy, and finally defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul Grants class ability energy, which will bring you back your rift a bit faster. And on top, if you're running utility kickstarts, you will get a pretty cool bump of your rift energy back every time you drop the rift. And also keep in mind, as mentioned, that with Boots of the Assembler, as long as you're buffing your teammates, the timer on your rift extends. Now, when we come to team play, these exotics are on a completely different level. The fact that you can just drop the Empowering Rift, and then in trials, you have your teammates just move around and they're getting the 20% damage buff every other second pretty much, and the damage buff lasts for 5 seconds, is ridiculous, right? They can get the buff, move around the corner, shoot, then just, you know, get in line of sight, get buffed again, and they just keep doing this over and over. As mentioned, this doesn't mean Lorely isn't like super powerful or anything. Why I'm talking about this is that if you like this kind of playstyle in Trials of Osiris, once it gets nerfed, you have Boots of the Assembler. If you like these damage buffs going out at all times, these boots are insane. If you're running Lemonarch, or if you're running Arianas and all that stuff, linear rifles, this is your friend. Your next best friend in terms of getting the 20% easiest damage buffs of your lifetime is going to be Boots of the Assembler. It is going to be, because this takes the whole team play to a completely different level. It really does. Standing in a healing rift creates noble seekers that seek out allies that are not in a rift and heal them. This already makes it way more mobile, because people don't even have to be in the rift in the first place, so you don't have to be bunched up. Now keep in mind that when you're buffing them, ladies and gentlemen, right, you're also getting this buff. So you can buff someone and then get out of the rift for 5 seconds, move around, try to find that one shot, then get back in. Very, very powerful for team play. The mobility on these boots is incredible for team play, okay? If you haven't tried it, give it a go. Obviously, there's a lot of things on the Lorely that currently are better, but as we know, and that's the main point here, it is going to get nerfed. I don't know how they nerf this exotic though. They probably take away the heals. I would guess that's what they do with it. Like, what else can you do with it? But then it's kind of more like an empowering rift. With the empowering rift, as you guys mentioned in chat, Matt was mentioning this, you can't heal anymore, so the survivability isn't the same. They nerf the heals. That's just my guess, because with the ability regen, which comes from the sunspot, from the sun warrior, I should say, what are they gonna do with it? Unless they're completely reworking it with the solar 3.0, and you guys know they're looking ahead, right? They're probably like, holy shit, this thing is hot right now. Solar 3.0 is around the corner, and we all know that shit's gonna be broken like crazy. Can you guys imagine what the solar 3.0 is gonna be like though? Hunters with the throwing knives. Holy shit, I don't want to even think about it. I'm a hunter main, and I'm gonna feel like extremely disgusting next season, okay? Because I want to throw those knives, and I got a feeling it's gonna be completely ridiculous. But back to the topic now. When it comes to team play, that's where I think this shines the most. If the heals go away, this is gonna be your next best thing in terms of team play. So you would want one person to run these boots in Trials of Osiris, and you'll be getting those 20% damage buffs pretty much at all times. Easy peasy. Much more mobile. On an individual scale, obviously Lorely is better at the moment. I'm repeating myself at this point, but that's before the nerf. We don't know how it's going to feel after the nerf. But every time Bungie does these kinds of nerfs, guys, we know how it is. They fucking stomp it to the ground most of the time. It's not gonna be one of those, I feel like, really close ones where they just drop the healing by 10%. No, I think there's gonna be something. It's gonna be a pretty powerful nerf, but we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, if you're looking for giving out this 20% damage buff with much more mobility and with much more ease, this is the exotic to go. Also, keep in mind, another reason why the boots of the assembler are really cool is that you can use it on any subclass in the game. You can play a Void Warlock, a Arc, Solar, it doesn't matter. So these boots are gonna be amazing when the Arc 3.0 comes around, when the Solar 3.0 comes around. Overall, there's just so many opportunities and so many builds you can create with this one exotic across the board as a warlock. And for me personally, the freedom that it gives me in terms of build crafting is what makes these boots really, really interesting. Listen, at the end of the day, having a 20% damage buff pretty much for free, neutrally just playing your class and giving out these buffs, will always be top tier. Now people know the taste of those buffs. You know what I mean? They know how it feels when you get that 20% damage buff. Meanwhile, you have an exotic that can do the same shit across the map, and you don't have to be in one spot at all. You can literally move at all times. At all times.